Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial cast. I am Alex, otherwise known as XR by my master one on the internet. I am, of course, joined by the most gorgeous men in all of esports, the Hapgood brothers.
It is the truth.
Initialize the Chimera. As always, as I say, introduce yourselves.
Welcome to the officially unofficial ASMR cast. We love it here. We like to get really close to the mic and start speaking like this, and all the other things. Because of the mic quality we have. More importantly than that, we do also talk about League of Legends, in case you hadn't realized.
Sometimes.
Occasionally.
We have some LJL stuff to talk about today. It's going to be a pretty fun cast.
Yeah, it is the last 4 games of Week 7 we're casting today, barring tiebreakers. I have a sneaky suspicion. I have a sneaky suspicion we might have 1 or 2, which could be interesting.
Well, we're in a spot for
I'm
him.
looking forward to casting. Should be good. I think we've got so much still to play for. There's so many playoff spots that have not been claimed.
Yep.
And that means these last 4 games are going to be absolutely, stellar.
Fire.
Hot fire, as my Twitch emote that I already put in there, and saying hello to all of the Twitch chat that we currently have out there, saying welcome, welcome. Our first game is going to be V3 Esports facing off against DFM. Now, V3 have been looking rather good, or some would say fire, over these last few games that they have been having. Boogie, the team really kind of rallying behind him. However, he's potentially got to face off against the other one, or maybe the top jungler of the region in Steel. So this is definitely going to be an exciting matchup, one to see, and just in general, just to see these teams on peak form, as it would be.
And I love how V3 are ending the split as they started it, with full of confidence, like everything's been thrown overboard, and just says, yeah, we don't need to worry about this meta stuff. We're going to play Echo and Nocturne again. That's going to be fun.
Great.
Boogie, as we said. In Boogie, we trust V3 fans. He is up against DFM, though. The first time they played was the very first game of the split in a mirror matchup of the final of last split, and that didn't go so well for them on either occasion. So they're going to look to turn their fortunes around and not make it 3 in a row that they're ending the split kind of bad against DFM.
And I actually, at the moment, probably favour Boogie over Steel. I think Steel's had a couple of slightly sloppy games towards the end of the split. There was a couple of very ill-advised level 1 invades, a couple interesting ganks that have gone awry, and I actually think Boogie, on the other hand, has been absolute fire the last few games. To reiterate that phrase, because it is so true, this guy has been brilliant. His Lee Sin game, last time out, went something like 6-0 and 3, ran over the early game, got every objective under the sun. There is a lot of talent in that jungler, and maybe, just maybe, I think he might be able to get an advantage over Steel this time around.
So does that mean Boogie for best jungler in LJL?
That's a hard question. So eventually we're going to have to start talking about power ranking our individual roles. We'll start doing that on the podcast. We won't do that live because we do need some time to think about it.
We do.
Boogie's in contention for best jungler.
He
I
is.
think that if you had like the first 15 minutes of the game, it'd be once.
Yeah.
But then the rest
Absolutely would not be.
True. Very
Absolutely
true.
would not be.
And then if you take like all the good games from Hoglet, he'd probably be at the top, but then you have to take into account the first 4 games and stuff like that
Not so
too,
great.
and all this kind of stuff. So he's definitely in contention, but we'll have to think about it.
Are there any other lanes that you two are interested in watching throughout this matchup of Ace versus Syros? We got Paz versus Ebby, also Yutapon and Gang in the bot lane facing off against Archer Arena.
Down the bot lane.
Archer's been impressive.
Archer stepped up again, exactly. I think he had a couple off weeks. He's been back on form. I think Yutapon and Gang should give them stiff challenge, though.
True.
So I don't expect that to be a free lane by any means.
Well, when I was theorizing at the start of the split and when DFM won this crazy winning streak about how do you beat DFM, I theorized that you do it through bot lane because Seros and Ebby tend to have some kind of nullifying matchup available to them. They can pick, set for Ebby, doesn't tend to die, does tend to crush lane with that as well. He can fall back to stuff like Gnar and the other stuff. Seros just has the world's wackiest champion pool in the mid lane right now. He is like the Japanese Doinby as it stands. So bot lane are left as this one lane where even though they are patently very, very good, maybe you can draft a winning lane against them. And Archer and Reyna have been very, very effective when they get a good lane.
And if I can tack onto that as well, it's not just that you can draft a winning lane, it's also that DFM have been very greedy with dives. They've looked to outplay with numbers disadvantages, and they've won games having had a few dives against them go wrong, but with how hard V3 snowball, I would be unsurprised to see them go for that, and potentially that could be something you could exploit with DFM's propensity to just try and stay under their towers and look for the outplay.
Well, I think that's a very few interesting points you've both raised up there, but we'll have to see how it actually goes through the pick and ban phase and then on the Rift itself. So, as we are a blast from the past, I will quickly count us in so we can have it all lovely
give me
and
1 second. I
synced
just
up.
need to make sure that my video software's doing okay for itself.
Technical problems, an ever constant, as we have had to battle. If you've watched any of our VODs, you will definitely see, especially in the earlier few weeks, there are some questionable...
Week two was...
Not
we'll
great.
say bad, actually. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Okay, so it should be 26 seconds on the clock.
It is 26 seconds, yes,
Okay, in
DFM.
that case, we are good to go.
We are good to go. All right, let me count us in for 3, 2, 1. Good luck to both these teams.
Thank you very much, Masson. And we are all synced. We're all into draft phase, and it's V3 versus DFM. I'm very excited to see this with how V3 have been doing. And V3 will be on the blue side. They have Paz in the top lane, Boogie, that superstar we've just been praising in the jungle, Ace in the mid lane, and Archer and Reyna will be their bot laners.
And on the other side, it is Detonation FocusMe. In the top lane, that superstar we talk about, Ebby. In the jungle, that superstar we talk about, Steel. In the mid lane, that superstar we talk about, Seros. And in the bot lane, 2 superstars in themselves, Utapon and Gang.
Well, we've got a star-studded roster for sure on the red side, and lo and behold, we've got some very targeted bans on both sides. Heimerdinger, Jarvan, but Nocturne and Echo on the other side.
This is kind of the opposite we expect from a DFM draft.
Oh, yeah.
Normally we expect DFM's random champions to be banned out. Obviously, we see that in the Heimerdinger, but it's the Echo and the Nocturne taken away. V3 have shown this as a poster child for diving various lanes across the map. V3 for rounding out their bans with a Jarvan and a Yuumi, though.
Yeah, and we'll see what DFM go towards at the end, but I also want to say that we haven't had this conversation as a potential way to outdraft DFM. Fight fire with fire. Have your own random picks available that DFM don't know how to play against. I could see that being a potentially quite a strong winning opportunity for them. Ornn is that last ban. It is a very strong first pick. Offers a lot of engage. What a surprise to see that out of there.
Yes, I think there's something to that. I think any team, if they manage to find some kind of niche champion that they end up playing, for instance, Froggen with like Lux and Vel'Kar's back in the day, and all this kind of stuff, have done that to a certain extent. It's the Ornn ban, which is for last with DFM, which is very standard though, and V3 actually first locking in Tahm Kench.
Is that going to force a Senna to pick for DFM? Because they could still go to Varus, right? If they do pick that Senna. So like, it's not even like they can necessarily do that. Of course, Evie though, thinking about the set, the thumbs up comes down. He's confident. I'm confident. We've all seen what Ebby can do on this champion, and largely it's not safe for the PG-13 stream we like to try and run.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. DFM, of course, locked into first. V3, I believe they are locked into playoffs as well now. I don't think there's any way they can get out of there. DFM going to be locking in Senna alongside the set. So even though it doesn't matter for DFM standings, they're not drafting anything strange thus far. They did last split. They drafted AP Shyvana mid.
Oh, Boogie, if you lock in this Evelyn, I will probably fall in love with you forever. Please
that's what happens with the charm.
It is, exactly. The allure is pretty strong on Evelyn, but I would be so excited to see this pick in professional play.
Well, if it does get locked in, there's something to be said about
I don't
casters casting their favorite champions. Elise is one of yours.
Oh, yes, I do love Elise.
You know, but
you've put a lot of time into.
You've kind of been saturated on that. You've seen a lot of it. I, for one, have seen enough RE for the entire split with the one game from Amine. That's it. I didn't need any more than that. I saw it once and went, and then I saw Power of Evil's game over in NA, and I thought, yeah, and then I don't want to see it again. V3 locking in the Elise. Gonna lock in the Varus alongside the Tahm Kench, as you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, it is that other good matchup with the Tahm Kench. You've got so much poke, does work very well with that. We'll see what the response is here.
Do you think Kazu, the coach standing behind DFM with the ruler, do you think that's what he whacks them with if they lose a game?
Yeah, I bet so. They've only been whacked the once, so that's pretty good going. If you lock in Udyr, that would also be a pretty brilliant moment. But they are thinking here about Olaf. Is locked in, doesn't have the Yuumi to back it up, but still has had some very good games on this champion.
And post 6, you have a very good matchup into Elise in a lot of ways.
Oh,
she lands the cocoon. If she tries to go forward at that point, you pop the Ragnarok and you start running it down. Also pretty good into the likes of Varus as well. If the Devourer is down on the Tahm Kench, there are ways you can get on top of the less mobile AD carries. Second band's coming through. First one's the Renekton.
Yeah, and Renekton can sort of nullify the early phase of Set's kind of dominance in lane. So
to an extent, yeah.
To an extent, right? And I still think that Set probably scales a little bit better, especially with the Shojin being removed this split.
Shojin, yeah, that was an item.
And Set just has a little bit more utility, but taking out that slightly awkward matchup and trying to force Paz onto something that the Set can have its way with.
How much are you going to bet it's going to be an Aatrox, unless it's banned?
Considering how good Paz has looked on that champion when he has popped off, I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
But I've also seen his Grasp of the Undying Aatrox do very little in some games.
Very true.
That's
His Grasp of the Undying Aatrox has also been fairly subpar.
It's the duality of Paz.
It is the duality of Paz. We got Paz, and depending which one you get. And currently, Karma ban has come through from Ace, rather from V3 on the whole. But I suspect it will be aimed at Seros because that's another one of his picks. Pantheon banned as well, and such a good combo with the Elise.
We keep talking about V3 being a diving team. Pantheon, what a champion to start dives off with. You already have the Elise there, and you have the Tahm Kench as well, actually, to reset aggro in bot lane. They're already setting up to be a pretty decent diving team. The last ban is the Syndra, Saros being a massive proponent of that pick's success in the LJL. It is. It's a lot of bans, but then again, he's got through to the second round of picks without picking up his champion. So I think that's likely to have.
If they do lock in the Yasuo, that would be highly entertaining. I somewhat doubt it. They're going to save Seros pick for last, and I kind of completely blanked on this, but of course, it's Renekton Elise would have been the combo if the Renekton had come through, so that makes a lot of sense.
And I think Pantheon Elise is also pretty good.
Exactly. So I can see why that one was banned away on more than just being fairly good into set early on.
I agree. Yeah. So V3, thinking about their solo lanes now, have the jungle and bot lane locked in, unless there's some real craziness. Ace, thinking about the Azir, he goes for the LeBlanc instead.
And he is known for this champion.
He is known for this champion. He's had some really good games on it. I remember, I think it was game 1 of the finals against DFM. He had the game that they won.
5-0-3.
He went 5-0-0-3 on the LeBlanc, did very well on that pick. So he's been playing this for a while, had success at the highest levels of the LJL. So the Aatrox locked in alongside it, so I'll take that bet. Obviously no wager was put down, but you know, he's picked it up.
This is the third time we've seen the Yasuo hover, but I somewhat doubt it. We're going to see potentially a Galio, though, which would be interesting.
Yeah,
low damage comp from DFM.
Oh, I don't know. Galio does a lot of damage nowadays.
Do you think?
When you catch everyone in a 3-man combo, it's nasty. And the thing is that, so Olaf does quite a lot of damage from the jungle. Set actually does quite a lot of damage from the top lane as well. Galio just needs a vector to get into the fight, and then he's pretty fine. You know, the first target is going to be obliterated if they are picked off by this AoE kind of comp. And then talking about AoE, there's only one Tahm Kench to save one person. If there are 3 people caught in the combo, it's going to be at least one person dead.
Well, there's definitely gang on a Nautilus there to drag Seros forwards. Currently, though, Utapon and gang haven't switched.
Wait. This is going to be
AP Nautilus, but played by Utapon. It is! Whoa, okay!
Well, okay, so hear me out here, right? So when you pick Senna is kind of the support.
Yes.
So the other person is playing the air quotes carry. So you may as well put your carry air quotes player on the carry, right? Yeah. So this will probably be a damaging Nautilus build. It's not quite as full AP as we saw last year. Normally it's Protobelt Zhonya's into Stoneplate rather than Protobelt Zhonya's into some extra AP or something like that. This is still going to be a very interesting bot lane from the side of DFM. But then they're up against Archer and Reyna, who we have said have managed to abuse some lane matchups and come into team fights ridiculously strong in some games.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an interesting one. I'm curious to see how Utapon plays on this Nautilus. Looks like DFM might be just throwing the boat there out a little bit at the end of the split, trying some slightly different compositions.
Let's see throw a boat, by the way. Pushing a boat, I can understand. Throwing a boat, that's impressive.
It would be.
Maybe you do need maybe you do need an anchor toss to do that.
I do an anchor toss. That's kind of what I was thinking with the anchor toss, but we went there. You throw the anchor and the boat comes following after it, I suppose. And I suppose I was expecting it was Gang who could go gang ho on the Nautilus, but no, it's going to be Utapon going forwards on that.
Okay.
I'm curious though, because I think Ace has been one of our weaker mid laners,
but
on his picks, he has looked significantly more proactive. I think is what we use. So LeBlanc, his Nocturne as well, have also been pretty good.
I think Ace and Rocky are in that same kind of boat.
Yep.
If we're going back to the nautical references, I guess. I think both of them look really good on their specific champions, like LeBlanc, and I think all of the LJL mid laners besides Seros look pretty okay on that champion, to be honest. We are going straight into a pause. As is tradition, if Mass1 is around to come join us, he is welcome to.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm not bad. Not bad. I was just snacking on some chocolate while I was watching this game, or expecting to watch this game rather.
I do have some cookies in front of me, but the real snack this game is being able to
Cast this game.
Be able to cast it. I was like, sorry, do I call out one of the players as a snack? And I'm like, no, that might be a bit forward.
A little bit forward.
You could we'll send you a little love letter. Valentine's Day has passed, but we can set something up.
Well, we do try and time travel a lot on this cast, so maybe that'll work.
Maybe that's fair.
So, Mass1, what do you think of the gang on the not support center, and then the Nautilus coming through for Utapon?
Bad. Bad would be a single word I could use to describe the that decision.
Why specifically do you think? We have seen this lane before.
It's just some success as well.
Yeah, we've seen it across the world. It's just why do you think this particular combination of changing the players playing the picks is, as you would put in one word, bad? Bad would definitely be where I would put it. I just don't think this is. I mean, it makes sense from a time-wise point of view, right? Like DFM, as Initialize was saying, can try out some funny stuff. They can really try out these like funky picks where they work out or they don't work out, but they can hopefully learn something from it. It doesn't matter to them right now, does it? Really?
Nope.
Well,
it doesn't. Relatively speaking, that's it.
It's just pride. That's all it is.
Just don't think it's going to teach you enough of a lesson, whereas if you switched it around, at least that standard thing, and then you just see the support that is familiar playing that champion far more often with how much damage they put out, how the root does, just standard mechanic things. I just You
know what might be quite interesting is that, so they could just use this as a practice to have gang playing center and then try and bring it into different, like, because obviously we see it with kind of like the tank / not AD carry thing in the bot lane. Maybe they just gives them practice for gang having this on stage for the future. Maybe that's what it is for me.
Yeah, big time. I kind of agree with you. I think there's also something to be said for kind of proving that Utapon isn't like solely dedicated to marksman. Like the
awesome dudes.
A certain amount of priority that, particularly as you come into players where people do kind of hide picks, there is some certain amount of priority and power in a draft when you can prove that your marksman player doesn't play just marksman, has things like a Syndra in the wheelhouse, or a Heimerdinger, or a Cassiopeia, or in this case, a Nautilus.
Oh man, imagine a Heimerdinger flex in DFM. That'd be fun.
That could be. I could see.
I mean, it already pulls the ban out every single game.
It does. That's the thing. It's already a ban-worthy champion. What now if it's a flex pick?
Well, it could already be a flex pick. We just don't know.
It absolutely could be. Same with Syndra. You pick it. You lock in Heimerdinger and Syndra, and you're like, I mean, what? You know. So I don't just.
You just go. Epi can play.
Epi can play. So I cast some games for the UK university scene, and I cast a Syndra jungle.
Oh boy, yeah, that's the one. Go on, run that one through me.
Well, it's low key. I mean, whatever. The pause is going for a little while, so I mean, if it goes on for too much longer, we'll start looking into seeing if we can just do a bit of a time skip for that. But Syndra jungle, the way it kind of works is you can steal camps from the other. There are no smite fights because you just double away.
No smite fight, of course.
And you have a lot of AoE damage, so you're really good against stuff like the Krugs, which have negative magic resist, and the Raptors, which have, 7-8 targets to hit as well.
Something like that.
And it scales pretty well into teamfights.
It does.
So, yeah, anyway, that's the count of the pick. I mean, imagine it being a triple flex and play. That'd be pretty crazy.
And we have seen one or two mid laners end up in the jungle. Karthus obviously comes to mind. Definitely clears pretty damn fast and blows people up.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a couple of things.
It'd be the interesting thing where are some of these mid laners that are now in theory meant to be playable in the jungle, are they ever going to see an opportunity to maybe hit the pro play?
I genuinely think that Zyra and Brand could make it there at some point. I think that Zyra and Brand already low-key okay in solo queue. If you are proficient at the pick and you know the various routes to take and whatever. You can't fight early against a Lee Sin or a Rek'Sai, all the other stuff. Like if they pick a Rek'Sai into you and they find you in the jungle, it's really bad.
You're done.
But if you manage to come through to like a level 6 fight when like you're Zyra versus a Lee Sin, if you root someone up and then put the ult down, like your impact on that fight is so huge.
I think we might actually be into game.
Does seem to be. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. So at least we got to have a talk about off-meta jungles.
That was
That's what
a cool one.
happens.
It's a bit of word to the wise. I'm hearing interesting things about Morgana jungle with the latest changes she got.
Yep.
She gets through the jungle on exceptionally high HP at this point with her spell vamp, and that's kind of a big deal because especially because you do want to be maxing pool to clear through the jungle a little bit, or at least like 2 points.
I have to say, often the champions which make it into jungle are the same ones which kind of like move from like mid to support and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like we saw like Malzahar jungle
For a
and
little
stuff,
bit,
and he
yeah,
was
yeah.
already a support and whatever.
Way back
I
when
mean-
Kikis beating
Yeah.
TSM over on the TF and the
jungle,
and the
yeah.
Kale
Well,
way
he was
back when.
well. Kale was always kind of a bit of a support, but TF was a bit odd. So it's a bit of a passive start from both teams.
It has been. Well done on dragging that back to the game, by the way. That was good work.
We had to do it at some point. And it's a shame.
Did we? Did we? I mean, I suppose it is actually DFM v3. So
It is, and it is one of the last 4 games of the regular split for LJL 2020 spring. It is important going into playoffs, even if it's not for the standings, just because it will bolster your chances of coming in with high hopes and all the rest of it, really.
Yes, and of course we're looking at a bit of a stack here from DFM. We're actually looking for a late invade, but it will be 3 into 4.
It will be 3 into 4. They have the Olaf level 1, but they are against the
they were
Varus
preparing
against
for
Nero.
it. Steel's in trouble. He might have to
Oh,
flash
no.
out. He is going to have to flash. It's another one of those level 1 invades from Steel that's got a touch awry. Well scouted by the side of V3, and they punish that accordingly.
At least Olaf doesn't care if he's low HP in the jungle. That's the glass half full kind of approach. Ebby doing his level 1 phase breaker thing, actually taking a bit of an awkward trade there from Paz, but gets the better of it.
Because Conqueror is a thing, and he used that one. Punch, face breaker, double punch is a pretty good way to stack your Conqueror, it turns out.
Punch first, ask questions while punching. He has the face break, I guess a good trade, activates Conqueror, as you were saying. He loves to do this. He doesn't care about the CS as long as he can zone away the XP from his opposing laner. There's no CS picked up by the wave thus far. Haymaker leveled up.
And of course, Ebby can keep doing this because he is completely mannerless. So is Paz, to be fair. But the fact is, he could just keep doing it. He's done it so many games before, and at least is pathing this way. Will be at level 3 looking to punish this, but the punching continues. And at the minute, that's all Paz is, a glorified Darkin punching back. It's actually going to have to back at level 1.
I wonder if he'll TP
is Ebby going to take... He's going to try and stop the recall.
No,
he's not. Okay.
He'd take a tower shot if he did, and then Darkin Blade would be up from Paz. Boogie is now top lane. We'll see if Ebby... Yeah, he is on Vision. But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't expect him to path right up here, but he's currently... he's pathing right. Oh, Boogies might catch Steel on the red buff. This would be horrible for him.
He's going to have to back away. Remember, Olaf does get very low, and because Steel had that delayed start, he does end up behind in his clear. Boogie comes in for a contest. The ward comes down, but Steel does claim the red buff, even though Boogie was around. That could have been very bad.
That would have been very bad if it had been either a kill or a red buff. Still, no flash available to the Olaf, as we were talking about from that level 1. At that point in time, Galio didn't really manage to push in the wave. You don't really get to at early levels as Galio anymore. Oh, Steel actually coming down.
Does get it. That was just about
over to the vision plant. Good stuff.
Well done. That is the power of the vision plant, leaving it up for release. You can repel out of danger in the river a little bit more easily.
Oh, you know, famously, I remember one pro game where there was an Elise stuck in the dragon pit, and the enemy team warded over the wall to see if there are any enemies there, and the Elise just repelled out.
Repelled out. Yeah,
I believe it was actually an SKT game as well, so it was really high profile.
Yeah, it sounds about right. That is one of those things. If it's an enemy, you can repel to it, whether that's ward, jungle camp, or character. And for now, Steel is going to get the second Rift Scuttle Crab, rather. I was going to say Rift Scuttle. And I'm aware, obviously, the lore.
Scuttle, isn't it?
It's Scuttle Crab. Remember, it's the Rift Herald.
I believe it's the Rift Scuttle, isn't it?
No. So I think it is Scuttle Crab, from what I remember.
I
gotta check that out.
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree, if only because you got to remember the Rift Herald is a mutated Scuttle Crab, right?
It is.
Infused with the power of the Baron to become some monstrous creature that loves breaking down structures and civilization.
It is called the Rift Scuttle.
I've been judging myself for calling it the Rift Scuttle over the last few casts and thinking, oh no, I've got it wrong. And actually, I was second guessing myself. Well, to be proved wrong.
Sucking at something is the first step to being sort of okay
Thank
at something.
you for that.
In the immortal words from Adventure Time.
Yeah. There's some good wise words from that. Paz at least he's doing okay.
He's showing how to aggressively zone with the Q without hitting it.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's it.
That's the one. And he's down some CS. He's down a level, but he's not the horrendous sort of complete XP leech we've seen beforehand. But Steel and Zeros are here for a dive. Elise is not around. She is pathing, but she's coming all the way from base. I think she's going to be too late.
They're not level 6 yet. They're not going to hit level 6. Ebby doesn't off this wave either.
But if he starts tanking, if he does start tanking, here comes the teleport that's going to back away.
Yeah. All right.
Justice Punch away, Haymaker comes down, the teleport got cancelled, so no aces there.
You know what I really would have liked to see there? I would have loved to see Paz flash in front of the Justice Point from Sarah.
Keep him there, yeah.
That would have been really fun.
They're thinking about engaging on the two members
There's
here.
no
There's
flash
a level advantage
for
around
the Olaf.
so Olaf's in the wrong place. They're going to try and get in, though. That's a decent taunt, but it's a 3v2 for now. The Cocoon lands, and first blood to Boogie. Good flash out, but that was a nice collapse from the side of V3, punishing the early dive attempt.
And I'm going to praise Ace there for committing to the chain onto the Olaf, even though he had to tank the taunt from Saros. Normally, that's not something you want to do. From Galio does have a lot of damage on that ability, amongst other things. Ebby is on a ward. He's just ticked over to level 6, though, so they are just going to back away from that.
Boogie was looking for that. You could see the way he was positioned in that bush. He was very excited to go in, but alas, doesn't work out. That is a lot of damage, and it is Comet Varus again.
I was going to mention that in the next break.
Yeah,
I was going to do that.
Go for it. Explode.
Well, I actually I noticed that in level 1, and then stuff happened. I was like, oh, it's a Comet Varus, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess there's more important things like Olaf blowing his flash. So we see that they've got themselves a 10 CS lead, as we talked about briefly on previous casts. Comet Varus with the poke build is very strong in lane just because you have that ranged poke ability. If you hit your Qs, it's pretty nasty. Yeah. And when you've got a Nautilus who has ridiculously low base move speed comparative to a lot of other champions and has a large hitbox, he can often be a sit and duck. Looks like Gang's taken most of the poke though on the center. Not a particularly tanky champion, as we said, even with the Q to heal.
Yeah, exactly. But at least she does have that piercing shadow to heal herself up. One of the nightmares of facing a poke lane is if you have no way of healing yourself back up, you can end up out of lane really regularly. So that being out of there is pretty helpful.
Is indeed.
And we'll continue. That's good to know. And we'll continue to move on. Gang seem to be doing okay. I'm curious what souls he's at right now. We'll try and keep an eye on that as we go through it.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where you have to watch the spectator and just see them click on the champion eventually, because that's what we're at the whim of here. We see Steel just having a poke around the mid lane, but the wave is in a good position for Ace right now. It will be slow pushing back out. Boogie is here to cover the mid lane, though. It's pretty even in CS in the jungle as well.
Hook did just miss. Trying to get it sneaking around.
Down here.
Yeah, he is down here. They're looking for a
they
pretty
have
hard
teleport
engagement.
And the grand
double teleport.
They do.
So could look for this engage. Olaf is behind the vision, and it's a good hook onto Archer, but he's going to get rooted up. That was the depth charge down. Arena is in trouble. He's got thick skin. He's going to pop it, but that's a good double undertow, and the piercing darkness does claim it. But actually, look, Elise gets a dive under the mid lane turret and claims Seros up.
They do as well. Wait. That's the Ragnarok flash invested there.
Oh, flash out from Archer along with his barrier in that lane. He is very susceptible to return gank because Tom Kench can only devour him the once. But somehow, someway, Elise managing to get onto the Galio in the mid lane is a huge deal.
It is pretty big, meant that Saros couldn't be available for the bot lane dive, wasn't available anyway, they did manage to pull it off without him. It is only the one kill for DFM in return. So, okay, Justice Punch misses, flicks back to, well, just lands the chain, and then there's no mobility left for Gang after he blew his flash earlier. This is the problem when you have CC laners against melee champions in the mid lane. If they don't have their mobility left to them, then they do tend to be preyed upon, and Boogie is the predator, make no mistake in this game.
Yeah, that was very well played. They layered the CC pretty much perfectly. It was chain into cocoon into second chain. Saros had all of a second to start walking away, having lost all of his health bar.
At least it's not Omnistar and LeBlanc, so actually they could genuinely have a predator in the mid lane. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, you've got to let it go, man. It was one time.
I don't know.
And it won. It won. It's like
no. That is results-based analysis.
That's exactly. It's all we do on the as cast, isn't it? Results-based analysis.
This team won. Ace trading back on Saros there, being able to push in the mid wave with the blue buff as well is pretty important because it's the Sork boots picked up for the LeBlanc right now, not the Lost Chapter. So the blue buff able to stymie the mana problems that you can have if you don't go for the mana item first. What this does mean is that there's priority mid lane, Boogie ends up getting the Herald. I think, anyway, yes.
It looks like it's going to be over fairly cleanly. That's good stuff for Boogie, who's 2-0, has picked himself up a Rift Herald. DFM did get the early Cloud Drake, so at least that's in trade. But actually, very good early game from this, at least. We called out how Boogie has been a real star in the jungle, looking pretty good so far up versus Steel. He's managed to get off one gank himself, but also got caught out for the first blood.
Indeed he did. So, just checking him back on the lanes. So, Paz and Ebby pretty even in this matchup, even though the level 1 went so against the Aatrox, as Ebby loves to do on the set. The jungle, with the kills involved, probably pretty even there as well in terms of total gold income, but Boogie has completed the jungle item first. Mid lane, Ace does have a CS advantage, and Seros just loves to miss his abilities. And Minion Block, what a wonderful addition to League of Legends that is.
And Seros actually going down fairly low. Ace traded that really well, stayed on the edge of the taunt and out of the Justice Punch range. Well, Boogie's here with the Rift Herald. Steel's gonna find him in the bush though, and that means that there's a repel out. And here comes the hero's entrance.
Teleports, double
teleport. Boogie's having to flash away. He will get out for now. That was, I think, the Nimbus cloak keeping him out of that danger. Actually, they're going to re-engage down here.
But they have nothing
Reyna's caught. No, they've got this depth charging gangs here. He's got the Dawning Shadow.
Man.
It's going to come flying out, and I think this time gets dead to right. Archer's going down. That showstopper is huge. It's only a barrier. It doesn't mean
Boogie's here.
Boogie has turned it around, but Utapon's got a stopwatch. It's keeping him alive. Paz is world ending. He claims one. Ace has got chains on. He's doing a lot of damage, and this is a messy fight. No, it's a shutdown actually for Gang at the back of it, and V3 are having to run away. They thought they turned it around, but they end up with their faces broken.
They do indeed, and that's the root landing from the center, which will lead them to having, I think that's a full 5 kills out of that fight. They could take a lot of plates in the mid lane too. However, with the plates, will be slightly harder to take down, and there's no Herald available for them. We love these bloody games. V3 likes to fight early, and Boogie had a damn good attempt to try to turn around that fight on the back end of it. I have to say, Archer and Reyna, even though they got caught out early into that fight, pretty much played that kiting fight about as well as they could to. The fight starts with Steel unloading the burst onto Boogie, but with the timely repel onto the Control Ward, Boogie manages to get out of the initial engage. The problem after this is that Archer and Reyna have already committed to the roam. Utapon has the CC, lands it, and then the fight just kind of continues.
It does. I mean, you can see they went for the Tom Kench as well, because he was the one who's kind of caught most out, and that's nice flash from Terrace, you're right.
The Devour buys a lot of time here, though, right?
It does.
But there's also 5 members of DFM, so the Devour doesn't save him for nearly long enough. Ebby has the Conqueror stacked, well, almost stacked at this point, doing a lot of damage. Paz does his best attempt to get in there, get in the thick of things and start chasing people down. Ace also with some good distortions in and about the fight. Good flash away from Seros there, actually. Almost catching out Steel, but the Triumph alongside the Piercing Darkness from the center does heal him up enough to live another day.
And it was 1,000 gold down for DFM. They're now up about 1,000, well, nearly 2,000 actually. That's a huge 3k swing. Yeah. Such a well-played fight at the end of that, and I want to praise Utapon as well. That stopwatch bought them so much time to turn that fight around, as it looked like Boogie and Paz had found a really good sort of return flank after that engage. But the Rift Holder summoned mid. It's a cocoon onto this Olaf, who's going to take a fair amount of damage. A couple plates over. But that is the end of that little trade. Just the gold over for the first 2 plates.
I think they want to start trying. I think the reason they do that is they want to punish Seros on the Galio, who doesn't necessarily have the ability to continually hold up their mid lane turret. If he starts falling behind in this matchup, we've seen that LeBlanc can commit to chain trades rather than distortion ones. If you do hit that skill shot, follow up with the sigil and kind of lock them in place. He's caught out again here, actually.
That's not good, and there's actually going to be a lot of damage. I think he's just about out with the Justice Punch. But remember, Ace has distortions. Steel is body blocking, and he's going to use the Ragnarok to get out. But that means it's not available for this dragon fight that is just about to start. So actually, he's going to be a free Ocean Drake over to V3.
I don't know.
No fight at all.
So Seros does have TP, but the Dragon's... Okay, Dragon's going down too quickly. Anyway, teleport was available from Galio. That was the only teleport not used in that mid lane skirmish because he was already there. Arrow lands onto Gang. Steel, even though he took that chunk and used the Ragnarok, is down here on the bot lane.
Did sneak in, and that does mean another teleport born. This one will be for Seros. This time, Reyna uses her stopwatch, and the Dawning Shadow is well timed. And Seros is onto Archer, has no flash, no hope, and is dead under the tower. Boogie's running away, but the rest of his teammates are dead, and it's a double kill now for DFM in this bot lane.
Yeah, so that was a maximum value combo out of Seros on the Galio. Ends up hitting both parts of the CC. So one thing which is important to know, if you land your CC on Galio, it procs your Aftershock. Your passive, your little smash thing, scales off your magic resist. You proc Aftershock, it increases the damage off that. He gets the CC first, he gets the smash, gets both of his things in there, and finishes off with some extra damage as well from the Winds of War.
And we're looking at a pretty consistent gold lead across the board right now. Even this Nautilus, which of course is struggling to farm a little bit in the sort of melee versus range matchup, is only a little bit behind.
He's 100 gold
behind Archer, and that's it. Ace has got about the same, but everywhere else it's looking pretty positive for DFM. Good stuff for them early, but we'll see whether V3 can turn it around as this game goes on. There is still a lot of agency in this, at least early on. The Aatrox has recovered pretty well.
And we've seen that this Galio can be traded up on by the LeBlanc. This LeBlanc will have a good matchup into the Galio for most of the game as low. It is a skill matchup because if the Justice Punch does land onto the LeBlanc before the chains land, you can get locked up with the rest of the damage from the Galio. Problem is that Galio's cooldowns tend to run out quicker than the LeBlanc's. He's a very bursty champion and then waits like another 8 seconds until his next run's back up. Now, so far, it's going well for the side of DFM. They have themselves a sizable gold lead. They have a very fed set on the top side, and a very fed Senna actually on the bot side too. Gang doing well in the monetary side of things for that not support Senna, the farm souling Senna.
Yeah, and Seros desperately trying to avoid the arrow and just stand still instead.
Steel's been caught out a bit here.
But he's got the Ragnarok. He has to use it again defensively. That's 2 in a row now. And actually, V3 are here to start up for this Herald, which is
that's the thing. He wants to take a gamble there, see if he can get some vision around the Herald, just to see if V3 aren't there. They are there, though, and they lose that team fighting tool again. They're going to fight against the Chains of Corruption as well here. Just thinking about it.
Got to be careful. The Chains have landed, and there's no way out right now, but there's a heal there, and Ace decides to flick back to his Distortion origin point. Also want to point out, Set has completed himself a Black Cleaver, and an Execution is called.
The first items are pretty huge for DFM here.
Yeah, there's a lot of Proto Belts in place as well, so it's just actually the completed Umbral Glaive and what looks to be the Runic Echoes in for Elise in the jungle, but that's it. First items are largely complete across the board for DFM, so this fight is going to be in their favor right now.
Yeah, so Paz is behind Ebby in terms of itemization, and Ace is behind the Galio as well. Obviously not completing the Luden's Echo just yet. It is more expensive than that Protobelt. Protobelt giving you such an early power spike as well for the cost-effective stats. V3 are probably not in position to contest with this, with Boogie down on the bot side of the map as well. They got the first Herald though. This won't lead to plates. It will lead to maybe some turrets falling down in their entirety though.
For those who haven't seen this Senna Nautilus lane as well, the Nautilus does go for the AP route as well. So the burst that can come out from this champion can absolutely nuke a target.
Well, that's what happens with regular Nautilus. Now he actually builds damage.
Exactly. So it will be pretty much AP. We might see some slightly off-tank items. I will be curious to see where he goes with this, but at least for now, first item Proto Belt indicates kind of where he's going with this.
AP Nautilus likes Banshees and Zonyas. He can definitely go one of those after, well, he probably will go one of those after the Proto Belt, and then probably into something like a Stone Plate even. Very high value onto the Nautilus, who might just look to catch out Archer here.
No, he's so slowed down. No, they didn't look for it.
Hook into nowhere from Utapon. Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're worried about a little bit with Utapon on this champion. We've seen it before with bot laners who pick up mages. They play it all right in lane, but then you get out of it and you're suddenly not quite sure what you're doing. And there's some of the mechanics which aren't.
I'm not going to call that off of one hook.
No, but this is something to keep an eye on. That's a better way of phrasing it. Like, we have seen bot laners before who picked up mages and then kind of not look as mechanically experienced on them as other champions. They've only put the 50 games in rather than the hundreds.
But I look at the two big fights we had, right? The one which had the built multiple tells bot lane and the one in the mid lane, right? The fight was re-engaged by Utapon catching out Reyna in the mid lane, and it was also again the same thing in the bot lane. He's been landing the hooks to start the fights. It's not like he's been missing those key engaged tools. So far, I'm giving a passing grade on the Nautilus. Obviously, had his hand held a little bit by the fact that DFM are so ready to coordinate and commit to a lot of these fights. We see a bit of a gathering in the mid lane.
Yeah, speaking of a gathering, that's a lot of gathering of kills for Gang. Actually, it's 3-0 and 5 at this point in. It's got a second Dirk and a stopwatch alongside some Swifty boots. So this Senna is definitely off to definitely off to some serious damage points. Steel Gang are here to contest, but actually V3 have turned up in numbers. Gonna try and get another tank onto Steel, who is gonna have to burn that Ragnarok, but goes super low. That's a Devour come through. He's gonna try and get some healing up onto the back end. Showstopper's here. Reyna's now in no man's land. Ace gets a shutdown on Steel. Paz is here as well, and Ebby's getting taken very low. Gang flashing away from this Aatrox, but I don't think she can get far enough. Senna desperately running away from the Darkin, and it's all too easy for V3.
And Boogie's just soloed out Seros on the bottom side of that fight as well.
I think it's nearly a clean ace. It's just Utapon and Ebby who get away on pretty small HP bars, at least in the Set's case. That's an Infernal Drake over to V3, and that's a clean team fight win.
It is, and actually this is kind of warning signs for DFM, because this comp is probably strongest at its first item point once all your ultimates are involved. Boogie did a really good job there, cancelling the hero's entrance and then just putting the hurt down onto Seros. He had his flash available at the end of the fight, but the damage had already come through. It does end up falling down. Second dragon over to V3 as well. Right, okay, let's walk each other through this fight. Ace, once again, on the LeBlanc, finding Steel out with a chain. Lands both of them, does get the Mimic one in there, forces out the Ragnarok, and the Cocoon stops the follow-up from the Galio. It means
That's
that
huge.
the damage just isn't there for the continued follow-up onto the likes of Archer and Paz up here on the top side of the fight. And then kind of like, Gang is doing pretty decent damage, but when you get turned around on by the LeBlanc and Paz, 2 solo laners versus 1 not quite AD carry, doesn't end up being a particularly healthy mathematical equation for you there. And as we were saying, Seros ends up falling as well.
They do, however, use the Rift Herald to claim the mid lane tier 1, which is a pretty big deal. And this Varus, which can be preyed upon a little bit, especially if Tahm Kench isn't around, or if they are too far up the lane.
Oh, even if he is in this game, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Can be turned around on, and especially with that mid tier 1 down, less safe spaces for that long-range poke champion stand.
Absolutely, and normally it's predicated on the vision control as well. And now that V3 have found themselves back to slightly more gold parity, bound down to a 1k gold lead, have themselves 2 Drakes instead of just the 1, they're feeling pretty happy about it, I think.
I think that's fair to say. We're looking at a lot of vision control in that topside river as well for V3.
I think that when you don't have yourself the traditional marksman, and also having the Nautilus be the carry, Nautilus doesn't scale massively well. He does well in the mid game after he has, you know, his 2-3 items. He's going towards the Zhonya second. That will be very important. Buys him a lot of time. We do talk about that when you are the off tank. But he does get chunked out by the Varus. And Varus will do that the entire game.
Yeah, and that's one of those deals with vision as well. That poke works so much better when the opposing team can't see it coming.
Exactly.
It's so much harder to dodge. You've got so much less space to notice it, to avoid it, and if they can keep up that vision control, we could see some serious work going on.
DFM heading up towards the top
They
lane.
are.
Pretty low HP. Moving in force. They're moving all 5 members up there. Loses them the mid lane turret, though, I think. Oh, okay. No, the wave isn't there. Archer's going to clear that out with the piercing arrow amongst his other skills. I think they're going to get back in time to defend that turret, but they don't have the best wave clear in this composition.
Well, there's Proto Belt up for Utapon, which you may well just use here to clean it out. I think, there he goes and uses it. And that means that's down. On the other side, though, we're looking at Paz pushing down in the bot lane. He's up to himself a Black Cleaver and a Spectre's Cowl, so looking for the team fight versus the double AP threats of Galio and Nautilus.
Archer has picked himself up the Umbral Blade, as we said, going into the Ghost Blade for the extra little bit of kiting potential when you pop that active. He's going for the Edge of Night next. That's what the pickaxe goes into. So I think that once he hits 3 items, the team fight's going to be much better from the side of V3. Archer forgetting the Chains of Corruption there, actually.
He does. Utapon's now very low. This is AP Nautilus. Is pretty squishy. Ebby finds his way onto Ace, though, who's thought he had a flank, and it's not. Ebby forces that LeBlanc away. No flashes.
It's ult traded.
It's just ults, yeah.
It's on the 2 kind of bot lane carries. Bot laners.
Bot laners.
Those people.
Those people who spend their time largely on the bottom half of the map.
They do. Well, I don't know. Do you remember the lane swaps?
I do.
Well, there were lane swaps this game as well.
There were.
Yeah. And they're currently in the mid lane.
Yeah, but then it's just the bot lane's just inverted, remember? We just go to Australia.
Australia lanes, yeah.
Yeah. And either way, the Rift isn't currently upside down, and we've got an Infernal Drake spawning in a minute 30, which could be a pretty big spot. If V3 get that one, there'll be an Infernal Soul Point, which is a huge deal with poke champions, incidentally.
And, you know, one of the things about DFM is that even though in this game, you know, they're not at a clear advantage, they are a very good team fighting team. We've talked about that before. They tend to have a pretty good finger on the pulse of their win conditions, knowing how the game's checking out. So, you know, coming up to this next dragon, if they want to fight it, you presume it's because they've got a good idea that they can win it or get a good advantage off of it. However, on the other side, V3 have some really big advantages on their team fighting champions. You know,
they really do.
This Aatrox is doing a lot of damage. It's not like he's really behind the set now.
And I need to see a little bit more out of Seros as well. Like that last ult got interrupted, which was a little bit not so great. He got kind of run down afterwards, like used his Proto Belt a bit awkwardly. We've seen him not look that mechanically
96 souls in the center, by the way. So pretty good soul values, yeah.
That's pretty good work. And this Senna is very strong at 3, 1, and 5. Can definitely do some work. Has a stopwatch as well to maybe prevent Paz completely nuking on a backline, or Ace as well, who's at a Luden's Echo, along with the double flat pen, which can definitely tear through an unwise AD carry.
You know what's actually going to be quite a big thing in this game? As we see, actually, okay, whatever.
They're doing damage. That Cocoon did miss. Utapon has actually had to burn his Zhonya's, though, and that means he's going to be okay. He's going to go re-engage, but he's very low. The Aftershock is around, but Ace is looking to try and turn this around. He gets
Seros
taunted
caught.
up in place, but Seros is now caught once again. He goes golden this time, but I don't think he's getting out. The World End is gone. It's stacked as well. That's a massive showstopper, though. Ebby's looking to turn it around. The shutdown onto Archer is huge. The pit boss is here, and he does flash away, but he's going to turn around, and Ebby has to repel up. Boogie has to repel up, and the flash is huge from Baz, and he's still fighting. The Haymaker's still around. It's a fight between the top laners to see who can tank harder. Shuts down onto Ebby, and Gang flashes out on no HP, and it doesn't matter. It's a triple for Aatrox, and Utapon is trying to run away, but the chains are there. You don't get to pull away from that, and it's an ace. I repeat, a clean ace for V3 outside of Archer going down.
Huge plays from the entirety of V3 there. It's only at the cost of Archer, which is kind of sad. Your AD carry is your main pushing champion on this kind of composition. Boogie is going to end up taking the Infernal Dragon, putting him up to Soul Point as well. So much happened in that fight. There's going to be a pretty huge replay to talk about when it comes up on our screens. What a massive fight here.
Oh, look at Paz in this as well. He ends up 6-1 and 3 at the end of this.
Okay, so as we're talking about here, two things happen. Utapon and Steel get caught at the same time. DFM can't choose to re-engage onto any one target. The Nautilus ult, kind of meh. Goes on to only the Tahm Kench who had devoured up the Nautilus, Varus rather. It's an okay ult from Gang there, but Seros had already just taken the damage. And this Paz on this Aatrox is so ready to fight, even though there's a massive combo coming in here. Like, it's not like Paz is particularly feeling the hurt there with the Spirit's Visage. A Locket, the Iron Solari shield, comes out as well. Paz is tanking up most of the team, but there's no AD carry to finish off and cut through this top lane bruiser. Ace of Me, on the meanwhile, is doing the consistent damage. Boogie comes in, does a lot of consistent damage. We saw the amount of damage. Gang's health bar right there, that's all from the LeBlanc. And then he gets caught off by the red buff at the end of it, by the Aatrox, and Utapon had used all of his abilities, goes down for the last kill of the fight.
Well, we're seeing another fight. Boogie's going to get caught up and killed by Steel. That was a bit better from DFM. Seros is going on. He's got a double taunt. The Dawning Shadow is here, but Reyna does devour Archer in time. The Proto Bell nearly gets him, but the Showstopper's huge, and Ebby is a monster, but so is Paz, and this Aatrox is so huge. It's a fight between the top layers one more time. Going golden is Gang. Burns his stopwatch this time around.
They're going to win this. Paz wins this.
I don't know, because Utapon is here as well. There's enough CC now to prevent this world end from being enough. And his world is finally ended by Ebby on this set. And he turns around this fight. He's the one with the winner. That anchor toss was nearly enough to pull that one in. The dredge line just a ways off.
I am loving these team fights. So Paz, I can't remember if he had the death stance going into it or if he just bought one there. I thought he was going to be able to 1v3 at the end of it. I was blatantly wrong, as much as he is very fed on the Aatrox. 6-1 and 3 for Ebby as well on the set. Let's see how this all started out. Boogie, on the whole, has been doing very well at peeling for himself off of his own back. He walks into off a vision there. He has to repel early because the Galliot comes down, and then he's kind of stuck in the middle of no man's land. He doesn't have a Zonies. He doesn't have a flash. Does go down for the first kill of the fight. Seros gets onto two people. The Devour comes through to stop the Dawning Shadow coming through from the center there, and Ebby's just kind of wailing on the backline after this Nautilus ult. This time onto a useful target, locks up Ace long enough that he goes down as well, and that's kind of all she wrote at that point. The consistent damage is largely gone.
Yeah, and it's 6-1 and 3 for Set versus 8-2 and 3 for Aatrox. These top laners are terrifying if they can get into the back lane. And look at that gold swinging back and forth and back and forth.
I love this game. I love this game, man. We're within 500 gold of each other 30 minutes in. This is our top team in the league, DFM, versus our current third team in the league, V3.
Whoa, look at those gold differences.
I mean, actually, the gold differences aren't as huge as it might look from the graph there. There's like 300 gold in top lane. They're the massive ones there. The only really big one, I guess, is the bot lane between Archer and Utapon, but Utapon is very gold efficient on this bot lane Nautilus.
Boogie is here to try and get onto Ebby, and it's a big wave. They might try and dive in, but I'm not sure how sensible it would be to dive in Ebby that's this damn strong.
I think they're just looking to just shuffle a wave in and make sure that they're safe and not going to be collapsed upon themselves from the likes of the Olaf and the Galliot coming in.
Big time. What are your thoughts on the Black Cleaver build this time around, considering he seems to be kind of the carry at this point with the kills he's got?
I think it's okay, because you have a Senna and an Olaf doing decent damage who aren't building the Black Cleaver themselves.
Yes.
I don't think he particularly wants to 1v1 the Aatrox either. We've shown that he's definitely shown that he's doing enough damage for the team fights to be cleaned up. I think he's going to be fine. He actually picks up the Triforce alongside the Black Cleaver for the 40% CDR. Okay,
that's huge.
I've seen this a little bit on solo queue records. It does get you up to the 40% CDR. Very good stats on the whole side of everything, really. And this is kind of like the jack of all trades set build right now.
Yeah, and considering Ebby is so damn fed, I can't blame him for going for that quite
Like
expensive build.
HP as well.
Yeah, he is huge. He's thinking about going for the 1v2 here, at least cleaning up this wave as best he can. Paz is here, so is Steel. They're going to try and run this down, but Archer, Reyna, and Ace are off to the side in the blue jungle. They've claimed control of that side.
Oh,
Gang
that's a lot of
gets
damage.
absolutely destroyed by the Ace damage on LeBlanc.
I'm pretty
he does
sure.
survive.
I'm pretty sure if that chain lands, he dies.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
he
sure,
would've
because that
popped.
would have been the Mimic Sigil right there.
Yep, and the Mimic Sigil, of course, does just that extra amount of damage. I think it's a, 0.9% AP scaling on that?
I can't remember how much it is compared to the original one, and the AP ratio on the Sigil has been changed a little bit in the last year. That's one of the things which they do keep touching with the LeBlanc, because that's one of the less
fun combos.
Yeah, it's less fun when you can point and click, get the electrocute with the Luden's proc as well. It's pretty nasty when you do the double Sigil.
Actually, thinking back, I think it might be the Mimic Distortion that's the point.
That's the really
massive
massive one.
Yeah, that's the
huge.
big one. Either way, though, it does mean that if Ace gets on top of Gang, he can be in trouble. Edge of Night or not, he has no magic resist, so he can get blown up. Level 13 to Ace's level 15 as well means that that level disadvantage is going to sting, at least in terms of the health total that has to be burnt through.
And I was talking about that pickaxe on Archer. It didn't go towards the Edge of Night.
What did it go
him.
towards?
It went towards the Lord Dom's regards. He is
Ooh.
all in on the damage. He doesn't necessarily care about the spell shield. Does want the extra
Run,
arm. Oh,
another-
Boogie's caught.
Yeah, but so is Gang. Actually takes a lot of damage, and
Showstopper.
Seros finds his way to the backline, flashing onto two people. But Reyna is there for the Devour, and Ace gets out. They're gonna try and kill Boogie, who flashes away. He's desperate to stay alive. That's a good cocoon.
Oh,
Paz
Boogie's
is
alive!
wild in the backline, and yeah, the Spider lives to fight another day, and Seros is in a 1v3,
Everyone's
which he
alive!
can't win. But Paz is here, and he damn well will, and that means Seros goes down. Ebby, the golden boy, the man with the double phage items, has died as well. It's another team fight win for V3, and they are looking more and more like they're going to get a huge amount out of this fight.
The priority targets don't die, and they're gonna go V3 keep
man.
going forward.
And look where Boogie is. He's going to claim the Infernal Soul for V3 as well. I think that might have been it, Nightmare. I think that V3 have just put another nail in this coffin that was already halfway shut with some of these fights.
So, that is a huge turning point. You have poke champions in the LeBlanc and the Varus. Their target accessibility is so high, which means that their already considerable proc is going to get even higher here. I'm going to have to watch this replay so closely myself because, again, it's a messy fight. Seros gets zoned out by Paz on the first side of this. Boogie we thought was caught, but he does have the Zhonya's this time, and he flashes out of the secondary engage. Somehow this Spider just keeps going. Paz with all of his Conqueror stacks on the backside here. It's Seros and Paz diving each individual teams, but Seros doesn't have any regen on this Galio. He has some burst, but not enough HP or longevity to stay alive in the backline.
Yeah, and it is at this point as well that we were talking about this battle between the top laners to carry. At this point, Paz is winning handily at 9-2-3. This Aatrox is
huge.
utterly massive.
The duality of Paz, man, the duality. He just keeps going off or he goes hard or goes home, and he's definitely not going home today.
And it's no Grasp Aatrox this time around. It's a Conqueror Aatrox who is so strong with Infernal Soul on top of him.
Alongside the Spirit Visage for the additional healing and the Death Stance, this guy is so good at tanking up. He's kind of like a drain tank at this point. He just kind of keeps hitting you and trades your HP.
And
look, he doesn't get burst out here. Yeah, they're using a lot of things on this Aatrox.
I don't even know whether they kill him. They might just about. But remember, Reyna's here. He's just going to devour him and get him back out. Yes,
he's still alive!
And he heals. Where's the consistent damage? You can't do enough damage fast enough onto this Aatrox. He might finally die. No, he's still alive.
Alive!
Finally gets shut down by Ebby, but look at the rest of the health bars. He did a lot of work in the backline, and Ace is all too willing to clean up. Steel's going to try and trade back onto this Olaf, but no, Ace gets that kill, and that means it's a double for LeBlanc. The top laner went down, but currently it's a 2 for 3. Ebby's going to try and turn it around, but he's going to try and shut down. That Infernal Soul damage is massive, and this Spider is about to sing her fangs into set, but he does manage to get away.
Oh no, he's going to get him with the Infernal Soul.
Oh, no, not quite. No, he does get it, but that turret shot, no, does survive.
Woo.
Ace gets the kill. It's a 4 for 2, and Baron is live. I don't know whether they can do enough damage. Boogie's just going to have to wander around. clear up this top wave and maybe go for a top tier 1 that somehow, throughout the chaos if this game has stayed standing, I think we're at a kill a minute at this game.
It's pretty huge. So the engage comes in onto Paz here, Curse the Black Mist, used by the Senate to start shoveling, just keep going forwards onto the Aatrox here, but he just keeps throwing out the Darkin Blades, multi-man AoE damage there, and comes out with just so much healing. The Devour comes through as well. Archer flashes out after taking, 90% of his HP. Well, that's a healthy kind of situation there. Misses the arrow there, but he's still safe to keep chucking out damage. Ace, once again, finding so much damage across the team fight here. Jumping in, jumping out. The Boogie comes back in to finish off Seros, who is waiting for the return to the distortion from Ace, and he's just kind of picked off. And we see what happens here. Ace kind of, with the mobility, able to chase down Ebby at the end of this fight.
Yeah, it's in the name, Detonation FocusMe, and Ebby gets all of that focused on him and finally goes down. And Seros, 1-6-6, is about to be 1-7-6.
Oh, ow.
Well,
that's a lot of damage.
Galio, defender of Demacia, falls relatively swiftly there to the Black Rose's matron, and the push continues. No Baron required right now because V3 are so strong at this point in the game. Look at all the damage that Infernal Soul will be putting out. A single piercing arrow is most of someone's health bar. Steel got chunked there, and that was from what, like half a combo from LeBlanc?
It didn't end up being the double sigil, but it's a fair amount there as well. Honestly, even the Tom Kench is going to be doing some decent damage with the Infernal Soul. That is the nature of it, which means that even if you end up killing off one of Ace or Archer, chances are that with the extra damage coming in from the Infernal Soul from all members of E3, they are going to be able to put out a lot of hurt on the back end team fights from all members.
They're going to start up this Baron, and at this point,
I don't think there's much they can say about it.
No, it's a 5k gold lead for V3, but it's so much bigger than that because of that Infernal Soul.
And their composition, right?
Dawning Shadow attempted to steal, but it's too late.
It's
Yeah, at this point as well, I think DFM, we're seeing the problem with their composition versus this Aatrox that has got so fed so fast. Like, how do you kill him with their champions?
So we see that there's a Spirit Visage and Aranduin's picked up on the Olaf, but this guy is not having nearly the same presence of the same items picked up on Paz. He's also picked up a Last Whisper alongside all of his items on the Aatrox, not just the Varus going for the armor pen there. Paz has been such a monster this game. Most of V3 have been. I think Boogie has been doing oh so well at kind of almost being the bait to get caught and then reset the fight with all the tools available to him. Boogie had a good early game as well, but it's his team fights which have really impressed me on this release, which is not something you normally say about that jungler.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of the issues with like this Galio and the Nautilus are trying to get someone to burst and they're not doing enough damage at this point of the game. It is that stone plating for Nautilus, so maybe he stays alive a little longer, but the best consistent damage it feels like at the minute is this Set, who is at least at 4 items, and you're assuming the gang will have a fair amount of souls. He's got 2.5 items, including that Executioner's Calling. I suppose you can count the Spectral Sickle in way upgraded.
At its full form, it's pretty good.
So that's a fair amount. We'll count that as 3 items. So there is a bit of hope there if they can find squishy targets. Ace is going to try and get... Yeah, there's a showstopper. It has come through. Ace is... that is huge true damage from Ebby. The Tomcams come through just to witness the wake that is going on for the corpse of their mid laner. They do break down the mid lane tier 3, though. So at least that's exposed. But they are down a person as the Elder Drake spawns. Do DFM look to try and contest this? Is this their turnaround point?
I think as long as V3 don't walk up to it and they just kind of get vision control and poke them out, I don't think DFM can start it themselves. It's only if V3 choose to start it, which I don't think they should. If then this next arrow lands onto Steel, okay, it does just miss. Maybe DFM are in an okay position. 30 seconds still on the LeBlanc.
Yeah, and in Ebby, we trust...
3-level lead on the junglers, by the way. Maybe it's a bad idea.
Ooh, yeah, no, Boogie has been playing this game so well, and that is a massive deal. Steel is going to struggle to control and make sure he gets this pick. This looks like a desperation, Drake.
Oh, that's trying to get corruption.
The Chains of Corruption have landed. Steel is so low, he's just going to die. He is, and there's no smite anymore because Archer claims that kill. Seros arrives with the hero's entrance, but it is too late. Gang is double kill because the piercing arrow once again claims a life. Ebby in the backline, though, trying to clean up this fight. He is so strong. The taunt is there, but it's a triple. Is it going to be more? Is there a penta on the line for this Archer? But no, he has died, which means that Ebby trying desperately to win this fight by himself.
Ace is teleporting to the
he's
base.
Just going to end it. It's Ebby by himself. Utapon has managed to recall. Maybe he can stop the push in, but he's going to be versus a LeBlanc that's at level 18, has an Infernal Soul, and Paz is just toying with Set at this point. He He goes down,
He can
Ebby
TP
is
as
dead,
well.
and he teleports in. 1v2, DFM sure to take their second loss here. AP Nautilus, we knew thee well. It's not going to be enough here.
The next wave's
V3,
in.
their last game of the split, looking to end the split 7-6. And they are in a very, very strong point. Maybe they're going to get forced away. The recalls are actually here. We called it perhaps too soon. He has had to pop that world ender. He's finally going to sort of use it to retreat from the base. The movement speed is ahead. They're going to teleport in.
From Seros.
Yeah, and maybe this is it. They're looking to try and get something back. Try and find at least a brief reprieve because that
he
fight
does
went
go
wrong.
down.
Yeah, and this is with the Elder Drake they didn't actually take, by the way. So there's no Elder Drake to try and turn that around. He did go down, but it's one kill at the cost of a Nexus tower and an inhibitor
Ace is
tower.
going to go up to the top lane as well. He might even take the inhib there. I'm not sure they can leave him alone in the base. DFM are rushing towards the Elder. I'm not sure they can afford to do that.
Seros is here, but we've seen this Galio lose out to this
Wait,
game.
Seth's teleporting to the Elder when he should be defending the base.
No, they're looking to use it as a 1v1. They think Galio can hold
No,
it. But
no, they're going for the base.
Bissell voyages in, and I don't think Seros has enough wave clear to stop this around. And as long as Boogie's here to stop some of these recalls, maybe he can prevent them getting back in time because they're going to try and end. V3 land the Chains of Corruption. It is the stopwatch. Sorry, the Zhonya's, and that Seros takes a huge chunk, but no, V3 back away as DFM attempt to take this Elder Dragon. There is no smite available. Paz is still dead. There's no teleports. I think they can get this.
They do get it. This is going to be a free Elder Dragon to the side of DFM somehow amidst all the cacophony of strange motions and strange fights going across the map here. Ebion's still going to be able to solo this out and get it onto all 5 members of DFM. So maybe a way back into this game now.
This team refuses to just lay down and die. They claw, grasp, and fight their way back into a place where maybe, just maybe, they have a sliver of a chance.
There is a slight chance, but against the Infernal Soul and still up against a 5k gold lead, V3 are still in control of this game. There are no inhibitors for the side of DFM, and they don't have themselves a Baron buff or the Infernal Soul to keep chunking through these double super minions, which are going to keep going into their base.
And it's still 2.5 minutes before any of these inhibitors will think about respawning, and that means the Baron is probably free because there's no way that DFM can afford to leave their base.
They also have no teleports available to start trying to go across the map as well. They used all of them in that huge series of plays, and there's only one Nexus turret. There's a Spellbinder picked up for Ace here. It's not the Death Cap just yet. Wanted the very cost-efficient item onto the LeBlanc. If he comes through with a Sorcerer's Elixir as well, I'm pretty sure he can just solo out the game.
Well, it was dramatic. It was scrappy. But I'm not sure this Elder buff is actually going to earn them all that much.
It stops V3 having it.
It stops V3 having, but that's it. They're not going to be able to find a fight with it for themselves because they can't leave their base, and V3 are just going to be here to take this Baron, and they've only got to wait out another minute for this Elder buff to wear out.
That they do. So V3 are going to be able to take this Baron as the super minion clearing duty occupies the entirety of the DFM lineup. Paz in the meanwhile has picked up the Lord Dominic's Regards as his final item, full build on the Aatrox, whereas there are a couple of items left to be built by some of the other members of V3, notably Ace. He does have the Corrupting Potion still in inventory, for one reason or another.
Oh, Spellbinder as well for that, rather than
I
Death
did
Cap.
mention that briefly.
Yeah, I missed you. I was so busy talking about the ridiculous number of fights in this game. We're over a kill a minute. You wouldn't think it was the LJL. I know LPL started again over the last couple of weeks, and these teams seem willing to buy into the chaos. Ebby is at full build, by the way. He's 11-4. And this man, he's huge. Can he find another fight, or will Paz world end his way to victory? Will Ace find another one of those key picks? DFM here looking to hold on. This is last chance saloon. They have half of a turret left. That's it.
They do.
That's all they have.
There is also defender's advantage. They can start... Oh my god, I was going to talk about being able to go back and heal up the base, but if it's every arrow, that's going to be a bit of a hard ask. The turret isn't being focused by the minions right now, and no auto attacks being put in by V3. We'll see how this last fight goes.
And here comes the assault. The showstopper's in, but Ebby's taken massive damage, and that Haymaker did so little because there was a good devour. The GA is burned. That's not a bad hero's entrance, but Archer has slain Steel.
DFM are
and
gone.
That's it. They tried. They fought. They scrapped, but V3 were too strong. This is it. They take down the #1 team in the league. Another triple for this Varus. And well done for V3, who claim another victory at the end of the split. And it's a big feather in their cap, no less.
It is. It doesn't necessarily affect the standings for DFM, but it will affect their pride because it is V3 coming out with a win. Moving up to 7-6 with 1 game left to play. Mass Swan, crazy game, 45 minutes, 49 kills. What did you think?
Wait. Huh. Well then. V3 beat DFM. That makes 2 separate teams. It's not the same team. 2 different teams now to beat DFM. Now, obviously, part of that is this isn't the normal DFM lineup that we normally see when it comes to their champion composition. But it's a nice thing for confidence reasons for V3, as they are going to be in playoffs, and there is a chance they could play against DFM at some point, especially if they make a deep run. Congratulations, really, to V3, and, I mean, God, Boogie is such a machine, right? Like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Well, I think everyone on V3 had a pretty stellar game, right? I think
Paz
Paz, we
popped
talked
off.
about his Aatrox just
Yeah.
wrecking team fights. Boogie somehow managing to team fight on Elise. How do you do that as that champion? We also saw the Varus from Archer do ridiculous damage, and Reyna being there to reset every fight in their favor. And then, of course, Aces LeBlanc.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end there, that split push, deciding to let DFM take the Elder Drake, and we're just going to take your base so you can't actually do anything with it. So smart. So smart.
Wow.
It ended up being okay. It's a bit of a weird late game situation.
You know, credit to DFM in some ways for holding on for dear life towards those last 20 minutes. It looked like it was donezo for a while because they just they couldn't find a consistent way to kill Paz, right? That Aatrox was world-ending in more ways than one, and he was a nightmare. And on the other side, Ebby played his heart out. He was something like 11-4 by the end of that game, 11-5. Found a number of key ways into the backline, did manage to delete a couple important members, but Seros in particular on that Galio looked a bit suspect, wasn't putting out that much damage, got caught a lot, which is really key.
And so did Steel, right?
Yeah.
The Ragnarok was blown 4 or 5 times defensively before a fight came in. Just a little bit too ambitious from the jungler of DFM to try and set up vision control or find an opening before fights. Got picked off for it quite a lot.
Well, it wasn't like the thing is, he would wander in with 3 people, and you'd think that would be enough, but V3 were already there with 5, and that is a problem. And then on top of that as well, I also think that Utapon looked fine on the Nautilus.
I think on the whole he did pretty well.
He did fine. He was good. My question is, perhaps, would they have looked better if he had been on an AD carry?
I think that gang did fine on the center as well. I think with the champions that they picked, I think they did fine that game.
Yes.
Like, Nautilus center, there's only so much you can do against Poke Varus when, like, you're getting half health by 1 arrow, right? So, I don't know. I think it was an interesting experiment. I would point my finger more at the mid-jungle, though.
Yes.
I mean, fine's fine, but it's not good, and you need to be the best when it comes to playoffs, and to be the best. I mean, I get that DFM want to try, potentially this is something, as you were saying, Nymera, this is something that potentially in practice they want to bring it into here, because they're going to get a good amount of testing in it, in like a stage environment, but obviously, if they feel confident in this, and you were right, I mean, Utapon looked really actually pretty good on this Nautilus. Yeah, he was landing very important hooks. There was only that one really weird thing where it almost seemed like he thought he was a completely different champion, was going to hook center, and I'm like, what?
Oh, no, he was trying to hook the wall and just missed it.
Oh, I thought he was just trying to hook center.
Right. There was also the slightly dubious engage in the mid lane when he went in at half HP, tried to throw the depth charge out. It kind of got nullified by
there were a lot of depth charges into Devours, but I think the reason he did that is he realized that his Devour was getting the Devour was less important than him wasting his ult. He wasn't building like a death cap and stuff. It's still locking up the Varus.
True.
So yeah, I think it was okay.
Well, with that all said, I think it's going to be interesting to see our next game from DFM, as that is following this, facing off against Axis, who have been proven to be one of the best drafters even from week 1 when things weren't looking so good for them. Their drafting has been impeccable, and now with their play skills coming up to match that, it's looking very exciting to see Axis coming into these last few games for them, especially facing off against the kings of the LJL. Maybe they might have an opportunity and another dink in DFM's armor can be placed, or Is it going to be a standard thing for DFM? Always got to show that we're going to get a win every week, even if we drop one of those. We'll find out right after this break.